Hey everyone, this is Twisted Recaps, and today we recap the sci-fi thriller film Parasite Part 1. Just a heads up that there are some spoilers. The film starts with multiple alien-like eggs rising up from the ocean. As the eggs make it closer to the land, they split open to reveal parasitic-like worms that make their way into a cargo container headed for Japan. Having made their way to the country, one of the parasites sneaks into a home in the dead of the night, where a boy, Shinichi, lies asleep on his bed, listening to music with his earphones. The parasite falls from the ceiling onto the pillow beside the boy's head and tries to get into his ear. However, the earphones stop it. Finding a different way to the boy's brain, the parasite tries to go up his nose instead, causing him to wake up. Shinichi tears the parasite from his nose and throws it away from him. However, this doesn't stop the parasite, and it instead burrows its way into the boy's hand. Shinichi panics and quickly ties his headphone cable around his arm to try and stop the parasite from crawling up it. His panicked yells alert his mother, who walks into the boy's bedroom. After he explains the situation, Shinichi's mother proceeds to unravel the wire from the boy's arm and take a look. However, she sees nothing out of the ordinary. The mother blames the music for her son's behavior and then goes back to bed, leaving Shinichi wondering what just happened. The next morning, the film cuts to a different man who got infected the previous night. The man checks himself out in the mirror, clearly not human anymore, as his eyes turn off in unnatural directions. The man then walks into his living room, where his wife is cleaning off the table. The wife starts talking to the man, however he grabs a hold of her, clearly not listening. The man's face then splits apart to reveal multiple eyes and teeth. He quickly bites off the woman's head. The film cuts to Shinichi as he walks to school. His girlfriend, Satomi, sneaks up behind him and scares him. As she teases him, Shinichi's right hand, acting by itself, touches Satomi's face and body. Satomi storms off in anger, leaving Shinichi staring at his hand, confused as to what is happening to him. For the next couple of lessons, Shinichi notices unnatural things happening with his right hand. In one lesson, it stretches to unnatural lengths to grab a dropped rubber, and in another, it makes an impossible shot with a basketball. After returning from school, Shinichi begins to research why his hand is acting on its own. Suddenly, an eye pops out on the back of his right hand, before it quickly disappearing again. Shinichi hesitantly grabs a knife off his desk and prods his hand with the blade. As he goes to cut it, his hand suddenly transforms into a monster that tries to eat him before shrinking down into a weird alien-like creature. The creature starts talking in broken Japanese and tells the boy that it wants Shinichi to teach him how to speak properly. The next day, Shinichi wakes up in his bed, wishing that the monster he saw was just a bad dream. He is quickly proven wrong when he sees the creature standing at the laptop and reading through a book simultaneously. After asking for his hand back and being denied, Shinichi asks how the creature is so good at speaking now, to which the creature replies that he studied the language all night, clearly showing high levels of intelligence. Shinichi proceeds to threaten the creature, telling it that he will go to the hospital and have it removed. The creature refuses this idea, as he lives on the cells in Shinichi's body, so cutting it out would kill it and cause Shinichi to lose his right hand. Shinichi and the creature end up in Shinichi's school library, surrounded by books. The creature reads the books, while Shinichi hurries it along, not wanting to get caught by anyone. Shinichi calls the creature a monster, however it doesn't like this and instead insists on being called Migi, meaning right hand in Japanese. The two then go to watch the fencing club and the archery club, with Migi learning everything that he sees, before ending up in the art room. Later that night, a montage of different parasites killing innocent people occurs. A young boy walks through a convenience store before eating the cashier. A woman hails a taxi on the side of the road and then eats the driver once inside. The next morning, Shinichi is on his way to school when Migi suddenly rings the bell for the bus to stop. After getting off the bus, Migi tells Shinichi that he can sense another parasite and that he wants to see what he was supposed to have become. Forcing the boy to go along with him, the two end up at a closed restaurant. After failing to get in through the normal door, Migi and Shinichi quietly enter through the back door. Once inside, they see a parasite eating the remains of what was once a human. Shinichi ends up alerting the monster to his presence, but after discovering that Migi does not have full control over Shinichi's body, the monster turns hostile. Shinichi tries to escape, but is stopped by the locked door. After trying and failing to get Migi to move bodies, the other parasite tries to cut Shinichi's head off. He is stopped by Migi, who has transformed some of his tentacles into sharp blades. The monster tries attacking the two again, but quickly has his head cut off by Migi. Shinichi thanks Migi for saving him. However, the creature states that it was simply a matter of survival, because if Shinichi dies, then so does he. The two then quickly leave the restaurant. Later that night, while Shinichi watches the news at home, police arrive at the restaurant from earlier. Two detectives, an older man called Hirama and his younger her assistant, Tsuji, walk around the crime scene, asking what could have possibly happened. The next day, Shinichi attends the opening ceremony for the new semester at his school. Whilst in the ceremony, Migi tells the boy that he can sense another parasite closing in quickly. As the two look around for the suspect, a new teacher is introduced. Her name is Tamiya Ryoko, and she's the parasite. After the ceremony, Shinichi approaches Ryoko. He asks her what her intentions are with working at the school. However, she doesn't respond, and instead tells him to meet her after school so that they can talk more. After school, Shinichi, Migi, and Ryoko go to an aquarium where they meet two more parasites. Ryoko introduces them as Shimada, a high school boy around the same age as Shinichi, and Mr. A police officer. Ryoko reveals that she wants Shinichi and Migi to join their network of parasites. She also reveals that she and Mr. A conducted an experiment, which led to her becoming pregnant with a human baby. After finding out this information, Shinichi rejects her offer. Ryoko then tells Shinichi that she is holding the school hostage, and that if Shinichi and Migi get in the way, she will kill everyone in the school. The three parasites then leave. Migi tells Shinichi to be cautious of Mr. A, as he can sense killing intent from him. After meeting with Ryoko and the other parasites, Shinichi heads home where he has dinner with his mother. His mother notices that her son has been acting strange lately, and asks him about it, only to get into an argument causing him to storm out of the house. Shinichi ends up back at his school, where he works on his painting. Migi asks the boy what happened to cause the burns on his mother's arm. Shinichi explains that when he was little, a pot of hot oil almost fell on his head. However, his mother grabbed it at the last second and saved him, although it caused the burns on her arm. The action of self-sacrifice to protect others causes Migi confusion. He then comments on Shinichi's painting, asking if it is his mother, showing that Shinichi loves her dearly. Later that evening, on his way back home, Shinichi encounters Mr. A. The parasite's strong killing intent alerts Migi that they are in danger. Shinichi tries to run away, however, Mr. A follows him. Shinichi and Migi turn to face Mr. A and proceed to fight him. As Migi and the parasite fight, Shinichi inches closer to the man. At the last second before Mr. A can kill them, Shinichi stabs him with a metal pipe. The man stops attacking and collapses. Migi then explains that Mr. A underestimated the human, which cost him his life. As Mr. A lies dying, Shinichi runs off back home. Not too long after Shinichi has left, his mother finishes work and starts on her way home. She comes across Mr. A, who is bleeding out on the ground, muttering about needing a new body. She approaches the man. Shinichi lies asleep in bed, while Migi suddenly wakes up and warns him of a parasite heading their way. The boy quickly heads downstairs to the kitchen and grabs a knife to defend himself. As Shinichi waits in the kitchen, Migi tells him that the parasite has stopped outside the front door. The door slowly unlocks and opens to reveal Shinichi's mother. Migi tries to warn Shinichi that Mr. A has transferred bodies and taken over his mother's brain, but Shinichi doesn't believe him and tries to talk to her. Mr. A, now Shinichi's mother, slowly unfurls her head and then strikes Shinichi, stabbing him in the heart. Shinichi falls to the ground and starts to bleed out. Mr. A then leaves. Migi quickly leaves Shinichi's right hand and dives into the hole in his heart. A few days pass until finally, Shinichi opens his eyes again. He peels himself up off the floor and stumbles to the bathroom, where he looks at the scar where his wound was. Migi explains how he managed to save Shinichi by leaving a part of himself in both the hole in his chest and his pierced heart. After realizing what has happened, Shinichi breaks down screaming. Upon leaving his house, he meets Satomi, who asks him what has happened. He refuses to speak to her and runs away to the school to find Ryoko. Shinichi demands her to tell him where Mr. A is. However, she refuses. Shinichi gets angry and threatens the woman with a knife, stating that she saw a change in Shinichi for a moment. She turns to leave the room, but Shinichi throws his knife at her. Ryoko catches the knife with her hair and throws it back at Shinichi, missing him by a few centimeters. She then promises that they will meet again soon before walking off. Meanwhile, Detective Hirama is sitting at his desk, surrounded by pictures of different crime scenes, all with human remains. His assistant approaches and starts talking, eventually asking Hirama if the rumors are true that an unknown parasite is infecting humans. The detective tells him not to talk too loud, as they might get shut down, but doesn't deny his question. After leaving his school, Shinichi takes a train to a different part of the city. Migi warns him that he can feel the presence of another parasite close by. The two head into a crowd of people who are watching a political candidate give a speech. Migi then tells Shinichi that there are multiple parasites within the crowd. The boy looks up at the platform where the candidate, a man called Hirokawa Takeshi, is speaking and realizes that one of the parasites is the politician. The next day at school, Shinichi and his girlfriend are talking when another high school parasite, Shimada, comes up to them. Satomi explains that Shimada is a new transfer student and encourages the two boys to be friends. Shimada walks off and Shinichi notices that Ryoko was watching their exchange. Ryoko goes back to her science room where Shimada is waiting for her. She remarks on how Shinichi's body and strength is changing due to Migi. Later that evening, Shinichi gets ready to go and look for Mr. A again, but Migi quickly explains that it would be a bad idea, as he now has to sleep for 4 hours a day. However, the problem is that he can't be woken once he is asleep, and he can't control when he falls asleep, meaning that he can't protect Shinichi if he gets into trouble. Whilst all this is happening, Detective Hirama and his assistant are looking on the internet for any clues on the parasites. They come across a website where they learn that if you pull a piece of hair from an infected human's head, it will curl up, indicating that it's actually a parasite. The next day after school is over, Satomi meets Shinichi at the gates and offers to cook dinner for him. They end up going to a supermarket, enjoying a nice date in the process. Meanwhile, the parasite Ryoko is fired from her job at the school for being pregnant. Ryoko returns to her home, where she finds the parents of the woman whose body she has taken over waiting for her. After a brief conversation, Ryoko quickly kills the parents to stop them from revealing her to the police. She then examines herself in the mirror, wondering how the mother was able to tell that she was not the real daughter. The next day at school, Ryoko is packing her things into a box when Shinichi joins her in her office. Whilst Shinichi is talking with Ryoko, Satomi enters the art classroom where she sees Shimada posing as a model. Satomi's friend walks over to Shimada and adjusts his pose before commenting on him not seeming like a human. She plucks a strand of hair from his head jokingly. However, she freaks out as it starts to curl up, proving that he is in fact not human. The rest of the girls in the class watch as Shimada starts counting the number of people in the room, including Satomi. Her friend tries to escape, but Shimada quickly drags her back into the room using one of the parasite's tentacles. The girls huddle at the back of the classroom, afraid of what's going to happen. Shimada opens his face up fully, causing the girls to start screaming. Shinichi hears the screams, and Migi explains that he can feel Shimada's killing intent, causing Shinichi to quickly run towards his location. In the meantime, Shimada approaches the girls with the intent to kill them. Satomi grabs a bottle of paint stripper and throws it at the monster, who cuts it open, causing the liquid to fall into his open throat. In pain, Shimada thrashes around the classroom, lashing his tentacles out. Satomi tries to get everyone to run away as she tries to drag her friend to her feet. One of Shimada's bladed tentacles sweeps across her body, fully cutting her in half. Satomi screams, which causes Shinichi to run faster, in fear for his girlfriend's life. Panicking, the rest of the students in the school run in the opposite direction to Shinichi, trying to get away from the monster. Shinichi gets to the art room's floor, but as he rounds the corner to the class, he slips in a pool of blood and falls over. As he gets up, the boy notices a lot of his classmates' bodies lining the floor. After calming down from a panic attack, Shinichi gets back to his feet, walks past the pile of bodies, still searching for Satomi and Shimada, while the police arrive outside. Further down the hall, Satomi is hiding from Shimada in a locker. Shimada, who is unable to transform himself back into a human, stumbles along the hall, writhing in pain. He stops in front of the locker that Satomi is hiding in and rips it from the wall. It lands on the ground, causing Satomi to tumble out. She tries to run away, but Shimada cuts her leg. Just as the monster is about to finish her off, Shinichi barges into Shimada and pushes him down. The boy then stops in front of Satomi and turns around, ready to protect her with Migi. Shimada tries to use his tentacles to cut Shinichi, cutting his right hand off in the process, but Migi quickly reattaches to the arm and fights back. Not long after, Ryoko walks down the hall towards the group of children. Shimada asks for her to help. However, Ryoko refuses and instead throws a bottle at him, which is stuffed with a piece of cotton on fire. Ryoko quickly walks away, and Migi yells at Shinichi to get away as well. Seeing the danger, Shinichi picks his girlfriend up from the floor and jumps out the window, landing on his feet outside. Seconds later, the bottle explodes, catching Shimada in the fiery explosion. Shinichi rushes Satomi to the nearest ambulance, while the police head inside the school. Amazingly, Shimada isn't dead, and he takes out the officers who shoot at him. Satomi is rushed to the hospital, leaving Shinichi standing alone. Migi informs Shinichi that Shimada is still alive and is heading to the roof of the school. The boy makes his way to a building opposite the school and climbs onto the roof. Migi transforms into a bow, and Shinichi uses a piece of a metal rod as an arrow. As Shimada stumbles onto the roof of the school, Shinichi lines up his shot and shoots, piercing the parasite through the chest. On his way back down, Shinichi runs into Ryoko, who tells him that she will be disappearing for a while. Before she leaves, she hands the boy a piece of paper with the location of Mr. A on it. The next day, Shinichi and Migi go to the location that Ryoko gave them. They find Mr. A, and he leads them underneath a bridge. Once in a more secluded spot, Mr. A turns to face Shinichi and Migi, ready to fight. Before the battle can begin though, Migi tells Shinichi that he is feeling sleepy. With the last bit of his strength, Migi transforms himself into a large blade before going to sleep and leaving Shinichi on his own. Mr. A splits his head open and uses his bladed tentacles to try and kill Shinichi. However, Shinichi is able to dodge and counter all of Mr. A's attacks with his own bladed arm. Seeing that the boy has the upper hand, Mr. A quickly transforms back into Shinichi's mother, even using her voice to ask Shinichi what he is doing. Taken off guard, Shinichi lowers his weapon, allowing Mr. A to strike towards his head. At the last moment before he can be killed, the tentacle is deflected by his own mother's hand. Seeing that she has once again protected him, like she did with the hot oil, Shinichi makes one final attack and manages to behead his own mother, killing the parasite controlling her. In another part of the town, a celebration is happening as Hirokawa, the politician, has managed to win his election. Simultaneously, Detective Hirama and his assistant have been called to police headquarters. Once inside, they are approached by a man called Yamagishi, who is a part of the Special Forces, tasked with a special operation called Human Life Protection. He asks the two detectives to sign a letter of confidentiality before asking them to reveal all of the information they have collected on the parasite so far. We then see Ryoko watching and narrating a video. As she finishes her narration, a mysterious man sits at a table eating a plate of meat. The man called Goto then tells Ryoko and Takashi that he was given a command to kill mankind when he took over his host's brain. The film then cuts back to Shinichi one last time as he tells Migi that he believes he has found his purpose. He must hunt down the other parasites and kill them. As Shinichi and Migi look out across the city, a mysterious person secretly takes their photo from another building. The film then ends with the promise of a second part to conclude all of the loose ends. Well, that's the end of this video for now. Stay tuned to find out what happens in part 2, and let us know what you thought of this video in the comments below. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like this channel to get more movie recaps. Until next time, goodbye everyone!